Hello, and thanks for tuning in. You're listening to the Harrington Insurance Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio and the Humongous Radio Network. Mike Harrington is the founder of Harrington Insurance Agency, where he and his team specialize in helping families protect their homes, their loved ones, and their financial futures. Mike helps homeowners answer one critically important question. If something unexpected happened to you, would your family be able to remain in the home they love? Through personalized guidance and straightforward explanations, Harrington Insurance Agency helps individuals and families understand mortgage protection, insurance, life insurance, living benefits, final expense coverage, tax-free retirement strategies, and Medicare planning. Mike believes insurance should be understandable, personal, and designed around your specific situation, not a confusing, one-size-fits-all process. You can learn more and request a no-cost consultation at Harrington-insurance-agency.com. The Harrington Insurance Radio Show is available through Building Fortunes Radio, the Humongous Radio Network, Amazon Music, Audible, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and other major podcast platforms. Now let's get started.
Hello, everyone. Peter Mingils here. You are listening to the Harrington Insurance Radio Show from Mike Harrington. My name is Peter Mingils. We've been doing this radio show for a couple of weeks now, but I've known Mike for quite a while. And when he told me what he was working on with the new project, I said, you know, a lot of people are very unfamiliar with this, although almost everyone listening in either needs it themselves or knows somebody that needs it for sure and wish they had it, especially when they needed it, and that's mortgage protection insurance. So we're going to talk a little bit about this as well as some other topics as we go through it, but sometimes you need to hear things a couple of times before they finally sink in. You say, you know what, I got to make time to get this done. And I think this is one of those conversations that if you're a provider of somebody or dealing closely with a provider of somebody, and you own a home, you really need to take seriously and understand how it works, because there's probably some misconceptions one way or another. Mike Harrington is a gentleman who could certainly clear that stuff up. He handles many different types of insurance. He's able to handle a lot of stuff in many states, but he'll talk about that as we go through it. And I just want to say thanks again, Mike, for being here on your own radio show.
Thank you, Peter.
So I don't know where you want to get started, but I think for some people listening in, they might need a little refresher of what MPI is instead of PMI, because if more people knew the difference, more people would probably be buying MPI as well. So tell us a little bit about MPI.
Exactly, Peter, and thanks. It's a pleasure to be here on today's show. And like you said, we did it last couple of weeks. We've done a show on the mortgage protection insurance. And today I wanted to kind of a Ben Franklin scale situation on PMI, the topic, mortgage protection. And first of all, for those that aren't aware, PMI, which is actually private mortgage insurance, is usually required on a conventional mortgage when the borrower puts down less than 20%. And mortgage protection insurance, on the other hand, is usually a life insurance or a life disability strategy designed to help pay the mortgage after a couple of things: a covered death, disability, serious illness, or other qualifying event, depending on the policy. Now, there are a couple different versions of mortgage protection. Some policies pay the lender directly. Others, such as a term life policy used for mortgage protection, can pay the family. Now, policy details do matter. And most people that have less than 20% that pay the PMI, and I mentioned this last week, Peter, you know, that's all lumped into the mortgage documents, which nobody reads, and they sign it, and, you know, they get into their house, which is great. You know, I'm happy for anybody that's able to qualify and get into a new home situation. That's a great milestone. The problem is the PMI only protects the lender. Now, what happens if there's an upheaval in your life, a serious illness, a catastrophic event where you can't pay the mortgage? Well, PMI only covers the lender. It doesn't cover the homeowner. Where mortgage protection, the homeowner's family or the mortgage obligation is protected. And honestly, Peter, in my mind, this should be required. It really should, because the problem with home ownership is you don't own the home until you've paid the bank. And I also mentioned this last week. You know, you could be in a home for a month, and you're considered by society a homeowner, when in fact you're really renting it from the bank until that home is paid. And on a 30-year mortgage, we all know you're going to pay over probably 3 times what the mortgage is worth with interest and everything else. But it's, in my mind, it's critical that people get mortgage protection, simply because if there is a life-changing event, such as, let's say, the policyholder has a heart attack, can't work, he's the only breadwinner, or both the wife and the husband work, and if one of those incomes disappears, my question is, can your loved ones stay in the home? And in most cases, that answer is no. Because once the income's gone, there is no way to continue the expenses that roll right on. And banks don't care about heart attacks, you can't pay the bill, or this or that. They want the mortgage payment. And above and beyond the mortgage payment, you have all the other expenses. You have taxes, you have electricity, gas, all these other things that are lumped into that mortgage that people don't even consider. So I put together a little sheet here that I'd kind of like to briefly go through, and then I do have other information, Peter, after we take a little break. I'll go through these, and then we can go on to some of the questions and some of the objections that people might have, and a great answer to those. So first I'm going to start with the topic, who it protects, PMI, the lender, period. Mortgage protection, on the other hand, the homeowner's family or the mortgage obligation is taken care of. Now, who usually requires it? As I mentioned, PMI is required by the lender. Mortgage protection, the homeowner chooses it. As we know, it is not required. Now, what triggers PMI? A loan default. Mortgage protection is triggered by a covered death, disability, illness, or hardship, depending on the policy. Does it help spouses and kids stay in the home? PMI, no. Mortgage protection, yes, if structured properly, depending on the policy. Does it pay your family? PMI, no. Mortgage protection depends whether it is a lender-paid MPI or family beneficiary life insurance, and I'd be happy to get into those two differences. Now, the main purpose on PMI is helps the lender approve lower down payment loans, and mortgage protection, and here's the key, helps the loved ones keep the home after a life-changing event, because mortgage protection structured properly can completely pay off that home, leave money for expenses, and I can get into those two differences here in a minute. So I'll stop right there for a minute, Peter, and before we get into the, I put together 30 ways to explain the difference in the value.
Okay, so this is really good information. I think about sometimes people think about, what's in it for me, or they think about their situation. And I remember I was, now I'm 60s, but I remember when I was 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s, my needs changed, and maybe my insurance needs changed as well. And I remember my first home, I had PMI, And I don't remember when it was that we didn't, like after you hit a certain level, then they dropped the PMI, which was very helpful. And it was always a challenge to understand, number one, how it works. Number two, life is so busy. Like kids, marriage, families, the job, everything. A lot of times just didn't have time to, wanted to, but just didn't make the time to figure this stuff out. So what I'm suggesting to people is you're probably in that situation where just life is so busy. But what we've realized, especially with COVID and with things like job changes and other issues that are going on, there's real possibilities for this maybe to play out in many people that might even be listening in, either themselves or people they love about. So they got to definitely take a look at this. So we're going to do this. We're going to play a quickie commercial break, but then we'll be right back for Mike's different ways of explaining this. So we'll be right back.
You've been listening to the Harrington Insurance Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio and the Humongous Radio Network. Your home is more than a building. It is where your family lives, grows, and creates memories. But if something unexpected happened to you, would the people you love be able to continue making the mortgage payments and remain in their home? Mortgage protection insurance can help provide financial protection for your family if a covered policyholder passes away. Mike Harrington and the team at Harrington Insurance Agency help families review their needs, understand their options, and find coverage designed around their circumstances and financial goals. Harrington Insurance Agency provides personalized service, clear guidance, and year-round support to clients in Florida, Georgia, New York, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Texas. There is no additional fee for the agency's services because compensation is provided by its insurance carrier partners. Protect your home, protect your family, protect your financial future. Visit HarringtonInsuranceAgency.com to request a no-cost consultation. Now, back to the Harrington Insurance Radio Show. Take it away, Peter.
And we are back with Mike Harrington, who owns Harrington Insurance Agency, and Mike's talking about MPI and some of the different ways to explain it. So go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Peter. I did put together actually 30 ways to explain the difference in the value. First of all, I want to step back for just a second. And, the way everything's going these days, the economy, and it doesn't matter politically what side of the aisle you're on. I never get into any of that. But the situation that we're faced with is a cold, hard reality. Prices are soaring. Look at the value of cars these days. A pickup, $80,000, $90,000, $100,000. And what I like to tell people is you really need to consider, especially in home ownership, how are you protected? What if something happens? And I would say that, many people have life insurance policies and everything else, but that's separate of what I'm talking about here. Yes, it can be life insurance, but you would not want to use all your life insurance, a separate life insurance policy, just to try to cover the mortgage when you can simply have a mortgage protection policy that will cover all that, and you won't have to touch your other assets in the event of a life-changing event. So let me get started on these, and we'll go as far as we can. I might be able to get through them. So here are 30 ways to explain the difference and the value. Now, number one, PMI protects the bank if you stop paying. Mortgage protection helps your family keep paying if life stops you from earning. That means a heart attack, cancer, you can't work, whatever. Number two, PMI is only for the lender's risk, period. Mortgage protection is for your family's security. 3, you can pay PMI for years and your family still gets nothing if something happens to you. Mortgage protection, and this is real important, mortgage protection is designed to create a plan for them. Number 4, PMI helps you get into the house. Mortgage protection helps your loved ones stay in the house. Number 5, PMI answers the lender's question. What if the borrower defaults? Mortgage protection answers your family's question. What happens to us if the income disappears? So before I go on, you can quickly see where this is going. Banks and mortgage companies, they're out to protect themselves. They don't care about the loved ones in the home in a drastic family event. Number 6, PMI does not pay off your home if you pass away. Mortgage protection can be designed to help pay off, or what I call a payment protection plan, continue the mortgage after a covered event. Now, the 7, the PMI is attached to the loan. Mortgage protection, and this is critical, mortgage protection is attached to the people who depend on the home. 8, PMI is not a family protection plan. It is the lender's, now listen to this, it is the lender's protection charge. 9, mortgage protection is about making sure that grief does not turn into a foreclosure notice. If someone passes away while the grieving process is taking place, can you imagine everybody, the family, having to worry about how they're going to cover expenses? I have never been through that, but that's got to be astronomical. 10, PMI protects the lender from losing money. Mortgage protection helps protect your family from losing the home. 11, PMI may be required because of your down payment. Mortgage protection may be needed because people depend on your income. PMI is only about qualifying for the mortgage. This is number 12. Mortgage protection is about surviving the mortgage. 13, if something happens to you, PMI does not show up with a check for your spouse. A properly structured mortgage protection plan can. 14, the lender made sure they were protected with PMI. Mortgage protection is how you make sure your family is protected too. 15, PMI is the cost of borrowing. Mortgage protection is a strategy for keeping the promise you made to your family. Okay, Peter, we're about halfway through on these comparisons. Do you have any questions?
No, they're still really good. They're really good.
Number 16, PMI protects the loan company if the payments stop. Mortgage protection helps prevent the payments from stopping in the first place. 17, PMI is not there for death, disability, cancer, stroke, job loss, or income loss. Mortgage protection may cover some of those events depending on the policy and riders. 18, PMI can help you buy with less than 20% down. Mortgage protection helps make sure one tragedy does not erase everything you worked for. 19, PMI protects the lender's balance sheet. Mortgage protections protects the family's address. And when you really start thinking about these, Peter, it really gets down to black and white. Number 20, the question is not just can we afford the house today? The real question is, could my family keep the house if I were gone tomorrow? 21, PMI is required by the lender when they feel exposed. Mortgage protection is chosen by homeowners who understand their family is really exposed in case of a loss. 22, PMI does not replace income. Mortgage protection can help replace the mortgage portion of that income need. 23, PMI eventually will go away as your equity grows. Federal PMI rules generally allow cancellation or termination at certain equity milestones for those covered loans. But your family's need for protection may continue as long as they don't rely on your income. 24, homeowners insure the house against fire, wind, and theft. Mortgage protection ensures the family's ability to keep the house if the income provider dies or becomes disabled. 25, PMI protects against the risk the lender took. Mortgage protection protects against the risk your family took when they built a life around your income. Now, if you think about that for a minute, mortgage protection protects the risk your family took when they built a life around your income. What happens if that income is no longer available when they built the life around that? 26, PMI says the lender will be okay. Mortgage protection says your family can be okay. 27, a mortgage is usually the biggest bill in the household. And I like to term that it is the biggest liability you have until that home is paid for. Mortgage protection helps make sure that bill does not become impossible during the worst time of your family's life. 28, PMI is not bad. It does help people buy homes sooner. But it should not be confused with protection for the homeowner's spouse, children, or loved ones. And we only got a couple more, so let me stop there for just a second. Much more than Peter being able to pay the house. During a life-changing event, if you do not have mortgage protection insurance, what happens not only to the home, if you can't afford to pay for it, and all the expenses that go along with it, and, mortgage protection insurance, life insurance, could be structured to cover all that. There's many ways we can do it. But the other thing that nobody thinks about is, what about your young kids that are in school? They're on the football teams that have all their friends there, uprooting them to some place that they're not even familiar with. 29, the bank already plans for its worst case scenario. Mortgage protection helps you plan for your family's worst case scenario. And the last one, the real value is dignity. Your loved ones get time, options, and the ability to stay in the home instead, this is real important, of being forced to sell under pressure. So that's what I put together for today, and you really want to, step back. And what I tell people is step back and think about it. And as you know, Peter, I've known you for many, many, many years, and I'm not a, sometimes the insurance salesmen get a bad name, but I'm not a high pressure guy. I'm here to help people. And if I help people, I get paid by the carriers. There's no cost to work with me, whether I enroll somebody in a policy or not. Hopefully, I've made a friend or a contact. And, it's a whole different ballgame when you're here to help people and not sell something. Because mortgage protection isn't required. But in my mind, it is required if there's a life-changing event and you want your family to stay in the home. And I get a lot of answers all the time. Well, I don't need life insurance. Well, you're right, you don't. But your family does. So that's what I put together for today, Peter. I hope that really kind of drilled down on the importance of a mortgage protection policy to cover the family in the event that a life-changing event happens.
This has been another great radio show that gets a lot of people, I hope, thinking. And, making that phone call to you. So I'm going to make sure that there's a phone number on the show description. I know there's phone numbers on Harrington-insurance-agency.com. That's your website. But what's the best phone number? We'll just read it out loud if you have it, for people to contact you so they can take advantage of that conversation.
Sure. My phone number is 877-293-3994. That's 877-293-3994. And I would also like to let people know I'm licensed in New York, Georgia, Florida, PA, Tennessee, and Texas. So new states are being added all the time. And I am located in New York, but, I am a broker, so I am able to, I'm not a captive agent, which means I can only represent one company. So I'm able to do a complete analysis, check out all the carriers, make sure I can, the scope of work is the same, and I can get people the best value for their money.
And I know the one thing good about you, Mike, or many things good about you, is the idea that, you really do dig in, investigate. You'll do what's in the family's best interest. Ask all the questions that they don't even know to ask. Because what's the point of having any kind of insurance if you don't qualify for it, or you can't get paid out when you need it? So you're not just going to sell them something. You're going to sell them what's good for them. So make sure you make that phone call to Mike Harrington. Have that pleasant conversation. When I say pleasant conversation with Mike about the challenges that would happen, obviously, if something happened with you. But Mike, I think about this. I just turned 64, and I'm saying, was this even available for me when I was making those decisions, when I was buying my first homes? And the answer is, I don't even know if this was a product. So was mortgage protection mortgage protection insurance available when I was making those decisions in my 20s and 30s, which was like a long time ago?
Well, I don't know, Peter. I know there was term life insurance back then, but to answer your questions specifically, I don't know if there was anything that was considered structuring for separate of any life insurance that you might have that's more designed for straight mortgage protection. And real quick, Peter, I know we're running real tight, but
that's okay.
Okay. I did want to explain two things. There are a couple different ways many different ways that you can structure a mortgage protection plan, but there is one where you can structure this to pay the lender directly. And I don't necessarily recommend that for a couple reasons. Number one, the balance goes down as your mortgage goes down, so there's no extra funds, for the family as the mortgage goes down. But on a life insurance policy geared for mortgage protection, what that does, it gives the family a lot of flexibility. As number one, as the mortgage goes down, that extra, let's say you have a $400,000 mortgage protection plan. And by the way, these are very reasonable. It's not, a lot of money. And as the mortgage goes down, let's say it goes down to $370,000, that extra $30,000, that is yours to keep in the event. So that's really what I recommend. But we can structure it a lot of different ways. We can do payment protection plans that cover the mortgage in the event, it would only, pay the mortgage payment. But there's a lot of different ways that we can do it, and I'm here to help people. And my thinking is, if you don't have it, you're really out on a limb. And the people that say, well, nothing's going to happen to me, those are the people that, I shudder when I hear that, because it happens every single day.
Yeah. Oh, without doubt. So make sure you check him out. Go to Harrington-insurance-agency.com. That's his website. Mike Harrington is the gentleman that you're here. This is the Harrington Agency Insurance Radio Show. We do this every week, and we'll populate this all over the place. It goes on Building Fortunes Radio. It'll go on his website as well. We put it on Amazon and Spotify, and we even putting these things on YouTube and whatever, because we want to make sure we spread the word to help make your world a better place. There's Mike, this is like one of those conversations where I just say to myself, you got to make the time to have this question answered, and you have to make a priority that you make this. Give up something else. Make sure you're here for peace of mind. And I don't want to say this the wrong way. I'm still alive. So every penny I've ever spent on life insurance so far has been a loss for me, meaning I'm still alive. But the day that I'm not here anymore and that life insurance policy is now paid off to whoever it's assigned to is going to be, it won't matter to me at all, but it'll make a super huge difference in their lives. And I think that's the best lasting impression I could leave. And I think there's a lot of people that probably think the same way, and they just need to be pushed and nudged and whatever. I know you're a nice guy, so you say, I'm not high pressure. I am. Get this. You gotta get this. I am high pressure when it comes to things that are important. I'll stick my nose. You know what I mean? Like my personality is such where I'll stick my nose in it if I know it's really good for me and the people that I care about. I will pressure myself and figure out a way. And if you can't figure out a way, call me, and I'll show you how you can slice up whatever that payment is, probably times 3, in discretionary income that you probably have to make sure that you have the peace of mind, because everybody around you is going to mean it or going to need it if something ever happens. And hopefully it never does. Hopefully it never does. And Mike, this radio show has gotten me in a direction where we're doing some things here on the Building Fortunes Radio to kind of give people the tools that they can help to be able to make those decisions, meaning the mindset of what was holding you back. Why didn't you do it? Like, what's wrong? Like, why were you blindsided? And I'm all about that conversation, getting people's attention so they call you, they make the decision to get something so they can have the peace of mind, because the world is a scary place. It's always been, but it just seems like there's so many potential issues that might be out there that people would need something like this. So I'm going to stop my little ramble and say thanks for being here. I'll let you wrap it up.
Well, thank you, Peter. And one parting thought, what I'm talking about can be less than a cell phone payment. And, on a family plan, let's say. And, we spend money because we got to have the stuff, all the stuff. But the problem is all the stuff we need sometimes we don't even pay attention to. We've got the 2 cars in the driveway. We've got the cell phones, which, you need. But, when you break that down, and all of a sudden, something happens and your family's not protected, now you're in a world of hurt. So anyway, Peter, I'm not going to ramble again. Mike Harrington, President and CEO of Harrington Insurance, toll-free number 877-293-3994, Mike at Harrington-insurance-agency.com. Happy to help.
And we'll make sure this stuff is in the show notes as well. We'll see everybody next week.
Thanks for tuning in. You've just finished listening to the Harrington Insurance Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio and the Humongous Radio Network. We hope today's program gave you valuable information, helped you better understand your options, and encouraged you to take practical steps toward protecting your home, your family, and your financial future. Mike Harrington is the founder of Harrington Insurance Agency, where he and his team specialize in helping families understand mortgage protection insurance and other important financial protection solutions. Whether you are considering mortgage protection, life insurance, living benefits, final expense coverage, tax-free retirement strategies, or Medicare planning, Mike provides personalized guidance based on your situation and specific needs. Visit Harrington-insurance-agency.com or call 877-293-3994 to learn more and request a no-cost consultation. On behalf of Mike Harrington, Peter Mingils, and everyone at Building Fortunes Radio and the Humongous Radio Network, thank you for listening. You can hear the Harrington Insurance Radio Show through Building Fortunes Radio, Amazon Music, Audible, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and other major podcast platforms. Until next time, remember, protect your home, protect your family, protect your financial future,